This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everyone. Today, on July 20th at 6:31 p.m., I'd like to call the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee meeting to order. And I would like to begin with the Town of Shelburne's land acknowledgement. We would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the Town of Shelburne resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, Chippewa, and the people of the Three Fires Confederacy. These traditional territories on which we live, work, play, and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions. It is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection of Indigenous peoples with this land, its waterways, and resources. We encourage residents to review the call to action information by visiting the following website to further research and educate oneself. That is www.dccrc.ca/educational-links/. And with that, I would now like to move to the next item on the agenda, which is the disclosure of pecuniary interest. If anyone has any pecuniary interest, please feel free to disclose that now or as it comes up throughout conversation. I'll take that as no one has anything to disclose, at least at the moment. The next item. Sorry, was this someone enter? No, okay. Thought I heard something for a moment. The next item on the agenda would be the adoption of the minutes from our previous meeting. Alice?
Sorry, start with the agenda, please. The adoption of the agenda.
You are right. There we go. Sorry, everyone. First time hosting, sharing a meeting. I would like to start with the adoption of the agenda, which was circulated by email. First, would anyone like to? Are there any additions to the agenda at this time? I'll take that as a no. With that being said, would I be able to have a mover to adopt the agenda as presented and circulated by email? Karen, and then Nicholas, I believe that would be a seconder. All in favor? All right, that would be everyone. All right, so with that, it is resolved that the agenda for the DEI meeting on July 20th is adopted as presented. And now the next item, referring to attachment 1 toward the bottom of the agenda, would be the adoption of the minutes. Do I have anyone? A mover to adopt the agenda as presented? Shane, and then a seconder. Len, and all in favor? All right, and that would be everyone. All right, so it is resolved that the minutes from the June 15th meeting have been adopted as presented. And Alice, are there any new members joining us today or no? No.
They both indicated that they would be on, but they're not currently on. So if you wanted to skip section 5 for now and move right into section 6, if they do join later, we can circle back to it.
Wonderful. So if any of the new members join, we will pause or rather after the next item on the agenda, we'll just kind of go back to introduce ourselves just so that everyone can get to know one another. But given that no one new is on the line, I would now like to hand it over to Alicia O'Hara Stevenson, the president and founder of the Dufferin County Canadian Black Association.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, Deputy Mayor Hall, Councillor Goshardi, and Councillor Bernardo, and Ryan, my old friends from the previous term, and Karen. It's nice to see you again. Thank you, Alice, for opening up the room. I do have a presentation deck. Will I be allowed to share? Awesome. So the presentation essentially is on the number 2 Construction Battalion. You just bring it up. And of course, it's not coming up. Just give me one moment. I'll talk through it in the meantime. For some reason, I'm not finding it. So essentially, the number 2 Construction Battalion was an all-Black unit in Canada. They were based out of Nova Scotia. And the reason why I'm sharing this presentation with you tonight is the fact that the town of Shelburne plays a significant role in honoring these men. In 2021, the town of Shelburne, previous council established a plaque in honor of the number 2 Construction Battalion. That plaque can be found in the Reflection Garden in Fiddle Park. And I'm so sorry, I can't find my presentation. Just give me one moment, please. Let me try and work this out. Perfect, sorry about that. So as I started at the beginning of the conversation, the number 2 Construction Battalion was an all-Black unit and the largest and only Black unit in Canadian history. What is significant about these men is the fact that they wanted to fight for Canada, just like anyone else would in the First World War. Unfortunately, they were turned away based on the color of their skin. Essentially, they were told that this is a white man's war, so they weren't allowed to fight. So anti-Black racism and the systemic racism that they faced. Eventually, in 1916, they were finally allowed to fight, but instead of being given weapons to fight like anyone else, they were given construction equipment, and they still played a fundamental role in the war as support, being the construction battalion. They were able to build lodging, and they were able to go on the front lines and take injured soldiers off into safety. They were able to build railroads, so they played a significant role in the war efforts. Unfortunately, during the war, after the war, there wasn't much love, there wasn't much that was done to honor and celebrate these men. And so with the work effort of some community leaders in Nova Scotia, a book was written by Senator Ruck to be able to honor and catalog the rich history of these men, who they were, where they came from. And so part of the amazing history for the number 2 Construction Battalion is the fact that not only were they from, a large majority of them were from Nova Scotia, a good portion of them also came from Ontario, other provinces, the Caribbean, as well as the States. And so it was a large contingent of men coming together to fight for king and country. What was also unique about these men was that they were led by the only senior leader of Black stature was a minister. And so he was able to lead these men through the challenging times that they were able to participate in the war. So that's a brief history about the number 2 Construction Battalion, and I encourage you to visit the town of Shelburne's website, and you can learn a little bit more about their history there. So again, as I mentioned at the start, in 2021, the previous council was able to establish a plaque in the community gardens, in the Reflection Garden at Fiddle Park, and here you can see a picture of the plaque itself, a picture of the former deputy mayor, and of course, our mayor then and now, Mayor Wade Mills. So when we talk about the number 2 Construction Battalion and the connection between the town of Shelburne, the connection between DCCPA and the number 2 Construction Battalion, we have been able to honor, picking up from the precedent that the town of Shelburne already started with the installment of the plaque. We've been able to continue the knowledge transfer and the education in the community by way of recognizing the men, starting with a live ceremony that was presented last year during the time of the apology. So for the very first time in history, the government of Canada on June 9th, 2022, actually, my apologies, June 9, 2022, the government of Canada made a formal apology to the descendants of the No. 2 Construction Battalion, essentially apologizing for the anti-Black racism that they faced and all of the systemic racism that the community continues to endure in Canada. And so this picture on the left is just a snapshot of some of the participants from that live streaming event that took place in Shelburne for the apology. What is significant about this picture was the fact that DCCBA was one of the very few organizations across the country that had the rights to live stream the event. And on the right, you can see a copy of the apology that was signed. Of course, continuing on with the education and the legacy, we were able to host a small remembrance ceremony for the No. 2 Construction Battalion after Remembrance Day. And we did that in the community gardens. And you can see in the picture, Karen, thank you for representing the DEI committee last year and making sure that we were able to carry on the legacy. And so what is significant about this picture is we were able to have young people from the community come out and learn the history of the No. 2 Construction Battalion, the role that they played, and the enduring legacy and perseverance and courage that these men displayed. Both of these young individuals are both cadets. In the picture top center is Captain Kevin Janor, and he is a highly decorated officer with extensive experience in the armed forces. And so he was able to come out and share his knowledge, his history of the No. 2 Construction Battalion. He has played a significant role in getting the government of Canada to recognize the No. 2 Construction, as well as the formal apology that took place last year in Pictou, Nova Scotia. So carrying on with the legacy, this year DCCBA was invited to participate in the ceremony in Pictou, Nova Scotia, and the town of Shelburne was able to provide a letter, a sample is on the screen, just to acknowledge the fact that the town of Shelburne has worked with DCCBA on a number of initiatives in the community, and of course, the fact that the town of Shelburne installed a plaque in honor of these two, in honor of the No. 2 Construction Battalion, and the work continues. The legacy lives on, not just in Nova Scotia, right here in Ontario, right here in the town of Shelburne. Coincidentally, when I made the presentation saying that I'm from town of Shelburne, I had to be very clear that I'm from Shelburne, Ontario, not Shelburne, Nova Scotia. And so there was some interesting conversation just talking about the demographics of Shelburne, Nova Scotia and Shelburne, Ontario. And so in this picture is myself, as well as the executive director, Russell Gross, of the Black Cultural Center in Nova Scotia. And I have to say that the letter was well received, very appreciative, and I had an opportunity to speak with the mayor of Pictou, Nova Scotia, and share the work that we're doing in the town of Shelburne, and he too was quite impressed. So our footprint is not just Shelburne, our footprint is right back there in Nova Scotia as well, which I think was pretty spectacular. And so in this picture is just a snapshot of some of the senior leaders who were present at the 30th annual remembrance ceremony. So in the back, you will see men in, I guess, period uniform. These men essentially were, the uniform that they're wearing is a replica of the uniform that the No. 2 Construction Battalion men would have worn during their time. And the picture is right here, this gentleman he's an honorary colonel, and he is descendant of the Senator Ruck, who wrote the book on the No. 2 Construction Battalion. So he was able to share his thoughts and encouraged everyone to keep the education alive. Again, it's not just about the Black history of Canada, but it's also about Canada's rich history and the role that these men played in shaping Canada. This picture is another powerful picture for me. Here you have the Commodore, one of the most senior Navy officials. And in the center, the female is one of the descendants of the No. 2 Construction Battalion. Her name is Sylvia Paris, and in the pictures, the famous picture, you'll see her, I'm not sure if it's her grandfather, but he is a Paris. So, you know, it's quite powerful to be able to stand beside her and, you know, just to connect the pieces and see how history lives on, the legacy lives on. Again, Senator Rock's son or descendant, Douglas Rock, and you've got beside him, you've got another honorary colonel, one of the most senior decorated RCMP Black officers. And so he has the honorary status in the military, Colonel Craig Gibson. And finally, on the right is, again, Captain Kevin Janor, and he's also from Ontario. So I thought that was pretty powerful that he was able to be represented in this picture. And this video is of myself and Captain Janor laying the wreath in honor of the No. 2 Construction Battalion. It's 30 seconds, so let's hit play. Hopefully you can hear the audio. And that's essentially the end of that video, 30 seconds, but it was significant and powerful enough that I thought it was worth sharing. And the final picture is of the very spot where the No. 2 Construction Battalion was formed. Here, there's a, I guess, a plaque that was raised in their honor, and that's brings us to the conclusion of the presentation. For me, it was powerful to be there to stand on the grounds where these men were first gathered. What was significant also about this 30th anniversary marks the first time that a flag was raised in honor of these men. And the flag, I don't have a picture of it up, but the flag essentially represents a blue line that right across the flag that represents Nova Scotia. And then, of course, the green and the red historically, again, ties to the Black community. Red for the strength and courage, and of course, lives that were lost, and green for continuance and bounty and richness and all of the goodness of life. So that brings us to the end of the presentation, and I'm open for questions. Karen? Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Karen, did you have a question?
Not really a question, more of a comment. First and foremost, I'd like to say hello to Alethea, who was part of our EI in the last term, and you know, we got to know each other. And I want to commend you for all the work that you do, all the work that you have done, and just to say thank you. But I have had some thoughts about the memorial that's out in the community garden for the 2nd Construction Battalion. And I'm the coordinator of the food bank garden, so I'm there a lot. So what I've noticed is that it's really sort of unkept. So I had a thought, and this is something that I'm willing to do, is like, I would like to clean up around the plaque and perhaps plant some poppies, like make it pretty. So I don't know what you think.
I love the idea of cleaning it up. I'm not sure what the protocol is, so I'll defer that council and welcome any thoughts and feedback. But if we have the opportunity to clean it up a little bit and decorate it and put some poppies there, absolutely, I'm all in. And I think again, it's a way of honoring the legacy of these men, right? If we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Yeah, and I just thought poppies were appropriate because they're the flower of the wars, and like I said, I love to garden, so I'm quite willing to make a nice little garden around the plaque and plant poppies. I don't know if I can get poppies this time of year, but I think it needs to be done.
I think that's an amazing idea, Karen. The only thing, if we're going to plant poppies, I'm not sure if you are technically allowed to. I know a number of people do, but because you can derive opium from them, I think you may just need to look into the legality specifically of growing poppies. I'm not 100% certain, but there may be restrictions on it. But in general, the idea of just cleaning the site up seems like it seems like an amazing idea.
I guess, the plaque is inside a gated area, which is locked. So unless you have a plot in the garden area, you won't be in there. So it would just be people that have a contract with the Shelburne to care and manage. I don't think people would be jumping the fence to get at poppies, but like you said, I never really thought about that angle. If not a poppy, some other beautiful flower that might represent.
The only reason I personally know about that is just because gardening is a hobby of mine, and it's a plant that I haven't been able to find, and I've been told that there are restrictions on selling poppies and planting them. I don't know that from a professional proper, like from anything else other than common knowledge though. Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Alethea? Shane?
I guess first off, I would say that I could not have asked for a better person to not only represent Ontario, but the actual town and community of Shelburne.
Shane, if you can hear me, you're cutting out on my end. I'm not sure if that's true for anyone else. Yeah.
The battalion or even the local Legion for some guidance with regards to the flowers.
Shane, you cut out for a moment there. Were you recommending that we connect with the Legion to get guidance on planting poppies?
Yeah, after thanking Alethea for her activities, it definitely I put forward that maybe we talk to the number 2 battalion themselves. Maybe they do have a flower that represents, and if not, maybe then we ask the Legion for some level of guidance as to what would be appropriate or not.
And then Alice, would I need to move and second the motion to kind of have the plaque cleaned up?
So what I would suggest, if I can be so bold as to make a suggestion, would be to form a subcommittee from this committee and maybe ask Alethea if she would be willing to be involved with it as well. To look further into appropriate flowers to plant around there, and give the subcommittee a budget towards purchasing flowers. The DEI committee does have a budget, so they could purchase the flowers that could come from the DEI budget, and give the subcommittee the authority to do the appropriate research as far as the flowers and cleaning up and planting. And so it could be done in stages, but then it doesn't have to wait to come back to the committee because the next committee meeting isn't until September. And I agree that this would be something that would be good to do sooner than later. So then yes, get a move. If you want to make that committee, see who would be willing to be on that committee. I would say no more than 3 individuals because you don't want to get close to a quorum of the committee. And then appoint a subcommittee with a dollar amount that this committee agrees on now.
Then in that case, do I have a mover to form a subcommittee regarding the 2nd Battalion plaque in the garden? So Walter is a mover. Do I have a seconder? Len, there we go. All in favor? Wonderful. Alice?
So just before we vote on it, if you just want to appoint the people to the subcommittee and discuss who wants to be on it and then appoint those people as part of this same motion, and appoint the dollar amount as all in one motion. Then you don't have to do it 3 times.
Okay.
So what I would, so would you like me to, okay, so I would open it up at this point to see who wants to be on that subcommittee to work on cleaning up this garden and planting the appropriate flowers.
Karen, Nicholas, and then I can be a part of the committee as well. And then in terms of a dollar amount, Karen, do you have a recommendation?
I'm not thinking it would cost a lot. I even thought if we can't do real flowers, if we get some sort of permission from the Legion to put something there, but I don't think I don't really have an idea. $100? That could cover plants, I'm sure. Because I'll do it. I'm not going to be charging to do it.
Shane, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, whatever the dollar amount, I will personally fund the budget for the project. No need for the DI to use the funds. I'll do it I'll donate the money for myself.
Oh,
that's generous of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alice, would I now move and second the subcommittee formation of the committee?
It just looks like Len has a comment as well. But so just once all the comments are completed, then yes, just do the subcommittee then. Yes.
Actually, if Shane's going to donate that, then we can raise the budget an awful lot then, can we not? I have 1,000, 2,000. I'm just kidding. Okay.
Haha.
Alicia.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just one thought. So last year we did a separate ceremony to honor the men of the number 2 construction battalion, and BCCB actually purchased 2 wreaths. So one that we used as part of the main Remembrance Day ceremony, and then a second one that we actually placed at the plaque. So if this is something that the committee would like to participate in and support, I think that would be wonderful again, if anyone would be interested in supporting that.
I think it sounds like there would be interest just from this preliminary conversation. I think that once we form the subcommittee, and especially if you, Alicia, if you would like to kind of drop into the committee, we would probably be able to kind of bring to consider any involvement from the DEI committee, and then bring it back to the larger group if there's any interest in kind of contributing toward the purchasing the wreath or being involved in the ceremony in a greater kind of capacity. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Wonderful. I can see that Len shared in the chat a resource regarding the poppy.
I was just going to say that I know the Legion has really strict regulations about using the image because it is copywritten. So, I mean, maybe the subcommittee needs to connect with the Legion to see what's best for them too. I mean, I just know it's very well, or very much a copywritten symbol.
It seems like there are a number of, like, even from the legality of growing the poppies, it seems like there's just a number of things that need to be considered, not to overcomplicate the process, but I think that could be something that when the committee meets, they could consider that in greater detail. Alice?
And the committee can reach out to staff as well. We'd be more than happy to assist with researching some of that legalities to make sure that everything is above board and within the requirements of what's allowed. So don't hesitate to reach out to staff as well, please.
Okay. I think at this time there are no further questions or comments. I would like to Do I have a mover to form a subcommittee regarding the 2nd Battalion plaque and a remembrance ceremony?
You already got Walter and Len to move that. Yeah, you're still good with them.
All right, can I have a vote to see who's in favor of that motion? That would be everyone. Wonderful. So it's resolved that a subcommittee will form between Karen, Nicholas, and myself, and then we'll reach out to Alice to you if we need any support from the town, and then we'll share any kind of general information in future meetings. Karen, I think you have your hand up first.
Yes, the only thing, because we have the small committee, I'll take the lead in organizing the first meeting. So I'll contact and find everyone's availability so we can set something up to talk about it. Okay, so we're not sort of left hanging saying who's doing what at this point. So.
And Alice?
I just wanted to question, Alethea, are you okay if I share your email address with the members of this subcommittee?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, so now moving back to the agenda, we can now move on to the next item, which is general information and a number of discussion items. The first item being Black History Month and a partnership with the Dufferin County Canadian Black Association. Alex, would Alethea be leading that conversation or initiating it? Wonderful. Alethea, I hand it over to you.
Thank you. I don't have a slide prepared for this one, more of a conversation. So first of all, thank you to the town and last year's DEI committee for supporting this year's Black History Month initiative. And a special thank you to Len for all of his technical and PR work and audio work. Because of you, the show was a huge success. And of course, Deputy Mayor Hall for showing up with family and just representing the town. And so many other people came out to support this year's Black History Month event. Last year's DEI committee supported the Black History Month event by way of funding, as well as generously donating Grace Tippling Hall, where we were able to host the event, both a mini concert as well as keynote presentations from different Black leaders in the community. The event itself was well received. I think we had pretty much a packed house. Not only were we able to celebrate and learn a little bit about not just Black history, but the rich Black history here in Dufferin County, we were also able to raise funds for the food bank. I believe we raised roughly 500 and change that night for the food bank. So overall, I would say the event was a huge success. What we're hoping to do again this year is to form a stronger partnership. Last year, I think the wording went out and it said support. I'd love to be able to have a more stronger partnership with the town, much like what we have with the county and the museum. And that could look like, again, with the use of Grace Tippling Hall and perhaps even more support from the DEI committee in terms of planning. We are still in the very early stages of our planning. In fact, we have yet to form our team, so very, very early stages. So once we get further into the context of what we want to do, then we'll definitely circle back with you and ask you for more, or present you with more defined action plans. But for now, we're just asking for support. And if there's a possibility of having Grace Tippling Hall again and potentially budget allocation.
Alice, is that something that we would be then, would that be a motion that would need to be moved and seconded? Yeah. All right. So Alethea, just to clarify, the ask is just to have at this time, to have the hall donated and is there a specific budget you were looking for?
At this point, I'll go with the 2,500 that we used last year. And if anything changes, then I'll have to come back and present. But at this point, this is what we're asking for.
Thank you. Alice?
Sorry, just a quick clarification question, Alethea. Did the DCCBA get grant funding from the town as well this year?
We received 2,500, I believe.
And then it was you received funds from the DEI on top of that, correct?
Yeah, so what we had asked for from our grant funding, we didn't get the full amount, and I anticipate was because we received funding from the DEI committee.
Okay.
I think that was the reasoning behind it. I'd have to go through the notes.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I'm trying to remember back myself, and I'm trying to pull up notes, and my internet is being sketchy due to the weather. So I just want to double check one thing, because I know in the policy regarding committees that if an organization received funding from the town, then a committee can't give funding as well, but partnerships. So I would be hesitant to put a dollar amount in the resolution today, put in that the DEI committee will partner with, and then we can just figure out the legalities of the dollar amounts so that we're not changing the policy, if that's all right with everyone. I'm not saying you can't. That's not what I'm saying right now, but I just want to make sure we are following the policy properly.
Perfect, thank you.
Len?
Thanks. I was just going to say a letter to council requesting the hall would probably be the most prudent way to do it, I would think, in terms of getting the, oops, Alice is looking at me and going to slap my wrist.
No, not slap your wrist. The DEI committee can make a resolution requesting that council donate the use of Grace Tippling Hall, excuse me, for Black History Month. So it doesn't have to come from Leith, it can come directly through the motion. Okay. So if the committee made that motion this evening, which is completely acceptable, then we would take that to council at the August council meeting, because it would be August 28th is the next council meeting, because the agenda for the 24th has already gone out.
Okay.
Alethea, is there a specific date you would want the Grace Tippling Hall?
Typically the last Friday of, sorry, the last, is it Sunday or Saturday in February? Let me get back to you. It's usually the last weekend in Saturday. I just can't remember if it's a Saturday, sorry, the last weekend. I can't remember if it's a Saturday or Sunday.
No worries. Then at this time, I would like to make a resolution to partner with the DCCBA and donate Grace Tippling Hall. Do I have a mover? I'll move it. It looks like Nicholas and Walter. Nicholas is the mover. Walter can be the seconder.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, before you pass the question, you mentioned, and I don't mind seconding it, but you mentioned that the DEI give the hall. I think the recommendation is that we go to council, ask council to donate the hall. So
oh, sorry.
No,
thank you. No, thank you. It's still relatively new to chairing, so thank you. So to revise that, I would like to propose that the DEI committee recommends to council at the next council meeting that we donate Grace Tippling Hall during the last weekend of February 2024 to the DCCBA for a Black History Month celebration or recognition, and that we explore and that we begin the process of partnering with the DCCBA. And then Alethea.
Sorry, please finish, Mr. Chair.
Oh no, do you have any comments before we before I ask for a mover and a seconder again now that it's been revised?
Yes, comment. In addition to that, so this year, 2022, we had use of the hall to display posters. I'm not sure if that should be a separate ask or if that is a standard process going forward. but I'd like some clarity around that. So to be able to use town hall for posters to be able to display much like what we had this year.
Would that be during the time that you asking for the hall to be donated, or in addition?
In addition, so this year we had it for the month of February.
Okay. Alice, are there, I mean, maybe this is a conversation for everyone. Are there any concerns with donating, allowing use of the hall to display posters?
So there might be some concerns as the town has shifted the art gallery and has a bunch, I'm not sure how far they have it lined up. So I would hate for the committee to request something that is already not available. So if it's okay, I will make a note to look into that and bring it back to the next DEI meeting. Would that be sufficient timing for you still, Alethea?
Absolutely. The next
Okay.
meeting is September, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if we could just leave that part of the art part of it out of the resolution for now, I will make a note to look further, see how far the art stuff is already booked within town hall. And then we will make sure that we get that on the next agenda so I can provide that information to the committee. And then at that time, the committee can request to council at the following council meeting after that.
Wonderful. And Walter, are you still okay to move and second the resolution?
Yeah, that's
wonderful. Fine. And then now I'd like to see, is everyone in favor?
Aye.
All right, and that would be everyone. And then Alice, thank you for looking into, agreeing to kind of look into kind of some of the additional items. And then Alethea, we will get back to you kind of once we kind of clarify next steps on in terms of the eligibility for additional funding and for the posters.
Perfect, thank you.
Wonderful. All right, is there anything else regarding Black History Month that anyone would like to discuss before moving on to the next kind of discussion item? Nope, that it doesn't sound like there is. Alethea, would you like to stay on for the remainder of the meeting, or would you like to exit?
I'll exit stage left, but before I do that, of course, you know me so well. One quick question, and you don't have to answer this now. Emancipation Day is just around the corner. I don't know from by way of protocol if it automatically is part of your policy or if a request needs to be made. You're shaking your head, Alice. That's perfect. Thank you very much. So that's
it's on the agenda for July 24th.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being open to my presentation. Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor Shane Hall, for donating to the Puppy Fund or to the Cleanup Fund. Greatly appreciate all the support from the DEI committee, and see you next time.
Thank you. Have a great day, evening.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, the next item, general information item, is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, also known as Orange Shirt Day, which is occurring on September 30th. And I believe there's an update on the crosswalk location, and then a general event update. Alice, will you be leading this part of the conversation?
So we just wanted to, I know at the last meeting, Denise mentioned that she didn't feel that the crosswalk would have to move, but further road work does need to be done at the current location of the Every Child Matters crosswalk. And so actually on the council agenda for Monday night, there is a report from Denise, and it is requesting that council approve an interim location for the Every Child Matters crosswalk, which would be at Main Street and James Street on the north side. That is still within the area of the walk that is done at the event. So that's why that location was chosen and not part of Orange Shirt Day, but there also, that report also includes a request for a new crosswalk, the Lest We Forget crosswalk at William Street and First Avenue, which is near the Legion. So that one is on there as well. So that's just an information that last time we thought it wasn't going to have to move, but this time it is going to have to move. So we just wanted to make the committee aware. And so staff are continuing to plan for the event on September the 30th. It would be similar to last year's event. Staff will be reaching out to the Indigenous groups to get an elder to attend the event. So again, we will be looking for volunteers for day of to assist with the organization, the setup. So if you are available, please keep that date available, and it will be on the Saturday and it will be in the evening. And as more details come out, because the lateness of the meeting in September, and because we don't have a meeting in August, we will email you as more details come out.
Wonderful. Karen?
Yes, I think, and just if my memory serves me correctly, I think the DEI committee were provided with orange shirts for the event. I have one, but you know, Ryan and Nicholas may not. Some of the others may not have. So you wear, when you arrive at the event, you have these shirts. Did we do that last year, or did we wear our I don't think we wore our DEI shirts.
Those shirts were done by the committee. They came from the committee budget. They were an initiative of the committee, and the individuals on the committee kept their shirts from last year. They were not returned, so the town does not have those. If the committee wanted to do something similar, they could make a motion to see if we could get more shirts ordered for this year.
Well, I still have mine, but I'm just thinking it would be nice if everyone on the committee, at least the DEI committee, could have one.
I have mine from last year, I believe.
Okay. All right.
I don't have one, but I can easily find one. It shouldn't be difficult. Len?
Yeah, I have my somewhere. It's in my closet from last year. Yeah, so we're good.
Right now it doesn't sound like there's a need to order additional shirts, but if the need arises, well, I suppose we're not meeting in August, so I don't personally see a need right now. With that being said, open to discussion.
So these shirts, Ryan, just for your clarification, and Shane and Walter, they were, they had the DEI logo on the front, and then they had Every Child Matters, I believe it was the slogan, on the back. But I know the shirt, so it specifically identified that you were, the intent was to identify that you were a DEI member and involved with the event, but with everyone wearing orange shirts, you know, I'm not sure how much they stood out per se compared to all the other orange shirts, but except for the fact that they did have the DEI logo on it. So that was very nice that they had that. Oh, there you go. Len has his there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Walter, you're on mute.
I have an orange shirt, but I don't have a DEI logo on it. It's just, you can get orange shirts for the day. It's just that we don't have the DEI. I don't see an issue if we put out, it's going to be a small amount to purchase a few shirts. It's not like we need a huge amount. And I'm sure that if we had new members, the 2 new members joining us, they may not have the shirts either. So just in fairness to those that don't have it, should order a few shirts. And if the September meeting is that tight of a timeline, we may not have time to do it. So maybe I'll make the motion. I'm not sure of the cost, but I'll make the motion that the shirts be bought for any members that currently don't have any DEI Orange Day shirts or for this year, for this term of the DEI committee. And that way we'll have it also for the next few years as well.
Yeah. Sorry, was someone like to say something? Oh no, it's just feedback. Okay. What Alice, would that be something I have to move in second?
So yeah, so you just, so Walter's moved it and then you would need somebody to second it. And it would be beneficial if we could just clarify approximately how many, and then we could say up to this many shirts and up to this dollar amount. And then I can look into where they were ordered last year and get those ordered for the committee.
Karen, your hand is up. Is question, comment, seconding? You are unmuted.
More of a comment just before Alice spoke, but I think that they got the shirts over at the t-shirt place in town, like to support local businesses. So, and I think it is really important that we identify as a group, a DEI group, and actually have us there, not blending into the crowd of just some person coming. Like it's nice to know that the townspeople will, you know, they may not know some of these people that are actually on the committee, and it's sort of nice to be identified as part of the committee and showing our support for the initiative.
I definitely agree, Karen. I didn't realize they were specifically like DEI committee shirts. I thought they were general, like Every Child Matters shirts, or there are also variants with just an Indigenous Turtle Island symbol I've seen. But if they're specific to the committee, it makes sense to order more, at least from my perspective. So Alice, we would need a dollar amount and a quantity of shirts.
Yeah, just up to a dollar amount and up to a quantity of shirts, please.
So I'll modify my motion for up to 6 shirts, and I'm not sure what the cost of the shirts are, but I'm assuming they're up to $25 per shirt. We'll say at the most. That would be at the most. Higher than that, $30. That.
I know some that were looked at, because when you go lesser quantities, the price increases. So we have to see if they still have the designs and everything from last year, because if that's the case, they may just give us the previous, but because there's not as many this year, you could be looking at $40 a shirt.
$40 a shirt?
Because it's got printing on both sides of the shirt.
So up to $200, would that be of the budget for 5 shirts?
What Alice, the budget need to include or the dollar amount, does it need to include tax? Like, is this a total amount we're authorizing?
It would have to include tax, yeah. So $200 would be 5 shirts if they were $40 pre-tax. And I don't know that they will be. I'm just saying, you know, if you said up to $300,
yeah,
right, then that's, you know, up to 6 shirts and up to $300. There's some leeway in there. And that doesn't mean we're going to go, oh, let's find shirts for $40. Of course, we're going to do the due diligence to find the best price.
Okay, so following Alice's advice, then 6 shirts up to what was it, $300 maximum.
Thanks, Walter.
Okay, that has been moved by Walter. Do we have someone to second that? Len, and a vote to see who's in favor. All right, and that would be unanimous. So a budget of up to $300 to order shirts, and then Alice, you can kind of connect with us to let us know how many shirts we can get for a budget of $300, and ideally that'll be around 6 shirts, and then we can confirm sizing at a later date.
Yeah, so I'll need confirmation of sizes and who needs one. So if everybody could just send me an email saying, yes, I have one, or no, I need one, and this is the size I would need. And I will also reach out to the 2 individuals that are not present tonight to make sure I get their information as well.
Wonderful. anyone on the committee, let's tentatively aim to submit that information by August 4th, just so that Alice has enough time, ideally, preferably. All right. Alice, is there any other updates other than the crosswalk and the event? No, that's it. The next item on the agenda would be updating the mandate and mission statement. And then with that, also kind of setting goals and objectives for the committee for the year. This is an item I can lead. Speaking on behalf of myself, I know that I've done research into what other municipalities and townships have done in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion objectives. Where I'm kind of having difficulty is kind of knowing what is particularly within the scope for the town of Shelburne and within this committee. I'd like to propose forming a subcommittee and a working group so that members of the committee or anyone else interested would be able to help contribute to kind of collectively creating objectives and to also amending the mission statement. Alice, you said that if it's more than 3 people, we would need quorum.
So right now the committee sits at 8. So quorum is 50% plus 1, so 5. So you could technically go up to 4 people. And this should be an ongoing conversation for the next few months, and including accessibility as well, because the DEI committee, even though it doesn't have the A at the end, it does include the accessibility portion as well.
Right. So just to kind of expand on that to everyone, the idea of forming kind of a working group and subcommittee would be that we'd be able to kind of each kind of discuss collectively what the objectives for the year would be beyond what we kind of what has already been committed to, such as Black History Month, Truth and Reconciliation, and Pride, or the Pride flag raising. So anything extra to that is what the working group and committee kind of, in my mind, would be focusing on, and kind of seeing what other, what kind of strengths within the group we can each leverage can help inform the kind of the mission for our term. In terms of kind of overall number, then, if we would need quorum at 5, I'd probably recommend keeping it at 4 to form the subcommittee. Is I guess just to open it up to conversation, are there any concerns with kind of forming our objectives for the year and amending the mission statement, or at least doing some of the preliminary work to do so through a subcommittee? Shane?
I don't have necessarily any objections. The only thing that I would like to try to do, and I was actually going to bring it up under the new business, but how do we try to align ourselves with the county activities as well? So, maybe this is a great opportunity for this working subgroup to also interact with the county DEI, so that we're, working in a wholesome and collective movement forward, as opposed to, running in 2 different directions and maybe crossing over things. So I think it's a great step.
That's a great suggestion to keep in mind. Are there any other kind of comments or concerns regarding the idea of forming a subcommittee to focus on objectives and goals? I'll take that as everyone's in relative agreement. Would just kind of another item, or Alice, would the goals and anything coming out of the subcommittee, would that be automatically adopted by the committee, or would that have to be, would a resolution for those objectives and the changing the mandate have to occur in another meeting?
Yeah, so the subcommittee would meet over a period of time to review and reword the current mandate and mission statement. of the committee. And then anything that they do would have to be brought back to this committee as a whole. And then the committee as a whole would vote on it or make any changes. And then once it's been approved by the committee as a whole, it would have to go to council for council's approval.
Okay. Then with that, I would like to move the idea of forming a subcommittee to focus on amending the mandate and creating objectives for the DEI and accessibility committees, with up to 4 people being a part of that subcommittee. Is there anyone to second that? Wonderful, Nicholas. And then is there anyone currently on this call interested in joining that subcommittee? Shane, Karen, and Len. Okay. And then that would also include myself. So then can I have a vote to see who is in favor of forming the subcommittee? 2, 3, 4. All right, so that would be everyone. And then once the new members kind of, I guess, once we're able to kind of connect with them more, potentially in a future meeting, we can potentially see about rotating who is potentially on the subcommittee or seeing how they can also be involved, because or potentially we may have to expand it in some capacity, but we can discuss that at a later time after we are more familiarized with kind of the new members, what their strengths are and what their interests are. All right, thank you, everyone. The next item would be accessibility within the downtown core, and I believe this is a follow-up discussion from our last meeting. Alice, do you know who will be leading this, or?
So when I reviewed the recording of the last meeting, apologize for not being there, it was mentioned that the committee wanted to bring this up again at this meeting. So the discussion didn't seem to be fully finished and you wanted to bring it forward to a future meeting. So when there's that kind of, I just automatically place it forward. So I wasn't sure who was leading that main conversation at that point in that meeting.
Len shared in the comments that accessibility was discussed at a recent county meeting on July 5th and 6th. I'm not sure if anyone who was interested in kind of following up on this conversation, if there's information there that would be beneficial. Len?
Well, I was just going to say that there were 2 days in, those 2 dates were open to the public for consultation, and they discussed recreation, they discussed housing, they discussed accessibility in regard to, just the day-to-day accommodations. There's also transportation was discussed. So there were a number of areas that were commented on. And that then will go into the official plan that gets presented back to the province, and then that all works up the chain that way. In terms of downtown, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be because I have been in the past, I think that Denise had said we were waiting on some grant approval, and that we were possibly thinking of doing a pilot with 1 or 2 stores, businesses, and just doing accessibility audits. The post office, which just opened up, is actually a good example of being fully accessible years whatsoever, the post office on Main Street. So, I mean, it's not that there aren't examples there, it's just getting people to buy in and be on board, I guess. So that's what I recalled from the last meeting. And again, it might have been a bad dream.
No,
or something I ate.
I recall something similar that we were just reviewing. We went over kind of what some of the challenges we faced in terms of accessibility in the downtown core were, and that that there was a process going forward. I can't recall what the specific, if there was a specific ask for additional information to be shared. If there is any, it sounds like no one can recall right at this particular moment. If there is a specific ask for any particular information, please let Alice know so that it can be added to the agenda for the September meeting. Otherwise, it sounds like the process is in place, and we can wait. Shane?
Yeah, I would just suggest that the subcommittee that was just formed ensure that when we're looking at the mandate that we include the accessibility portion in there, and then we can, when we bring that back as a committee as a whole, then we'll have that ability to have more frank discussion around it.
Mm-hmm. That seems like a natural progression. I definitely agree with that. Okay, it seems like no one can necessarily recall what, if there further discussion was required. So we'll just kind of keep that as that can be a standing item for the next September meeting. And then if there's specific information, please reach out to Alice. And then moving on to the next item, that would be the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and the Fiddle Park Plan, and particularly the PRMP Community Virtual Engagement sessions, which are being hosted on August 10th and 17th. Alice, who will be leading this part of the conversation? Yourself?
Yes, thank you. So Council has received the draft Parks and Recreation Master Plan, as well as the draft Fiddle Plan report. And so there's going to be 2 virtual sessions where these plans are going to be presented to the public for feedback from residents in Shelburne, so August 10th and August 17th. So the link to register for those sessions is not available yet, but I did want to make sure you had the information as to when those times are. If you are available to attend one of them, please do so. You know, one of the things that is in there is a trail system, and the intent is that the trail system would be an accessible trail system. You'll see within the plans that there is accessibility updates and inclusion updates. So unfortunately, with the timing, we don't really have time for the DEI committee as a whole to review it from a DEI and accessibility perspective. So we are asking the individual committee members to review it with that DEI and accessibility lens on when you're looking at it, and to please submit comments. Even if you can't attend the virtual sessions, the information will be on the town's website shortly, and you will be able to make comments. So this was just more of an information for you. If anybody had any questions about the plans, I'd be happy to direct them to Shane, Len, and Walter.
I can personally say that I'm still in the process of reviewing the plan. I've made it about halfway through in reviewing it. Karen, Nicholas, anything on your end regarding the plan?
I wasn't able to get through it today. When I noticed how lengthy the attachment was, I thought, oh, I don't have time, and I apologize for that. But I do have some ideas about the accessibility, and especially at the park, because I was really interested in the what Len submitted about the accessibility to the beach in Wasaga Beach, and the sidewalks were really, really interesting. And so what thought went through my mind was, when you do go to the Fiddle Park, like off the roadway, for someone in a wheelchair to get over to the pavilion, there's no walkway. So this might be an option, that's the same type of walkway, or building a boardwalk for accessibility for the people to get in wheelchairs and in walkers and even baby strollers to get over to the pavilion without having to struggle through the grass.
You will see once you get further into the Fiddle Plan report, Karen, that is there.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Actually, Karen, at the accessibility committee before when we had our last meetings, we had looked at Wasaga Beach, and on the beach area, they have a form of like a carpet that they lay out. I won't call it a carpet, but it's something similar to that. And they can roll it up and put it away and roll it out during the daytime as needed. So we have looked at different things for accessibility, especially on grass, like you said, for wheelchair strollers, especially for the wheelchairs and people walking with crutches or whatever, canes, you know, to make sure that they're able to get to whether it's a playground, whether it's something else. But if we can make our trails accessible, and we are talking about a form of pavement in a lot of the areas, that is the best. The thing that I look at it when I look at it with an eye on accessibility is I can walk for a fair distance, but I get tired and I end up having to sit. And so we have to make sure that we have benches and areas that sit, you know, seniors can sit, people with disabilities can sit if they can't walk that distance or rest or whatever. So those are the kinds of things when we're looking at the master park plans with an eye on accessibility that we need to look at, along with other, you know, whatever on the accessible side. Lighting, all those things is what I look at. Sounds, hearing. For example, if you're hearing impaired and you come to an end of a trail and you're going to cross on a road, you want to make sure that the person knows that the road is there. Sight impaired, same thing, making sure that we don't have areas where someone can trip, fall because they don't see, you know, 100% to the best. So those are the kinds of things when we're looking at it with the accessibility eye on the parks, master park plan, make sure that we look at it with, you know, all of those areas in mind.
Thank you, Walter. That's good guidance, kind of as I think all of us begin to like delve deeper into the plan. Alice, a question for you. Given that the plan concerns Highland Village Park and Gant Park, which I currently reside in Highland Village, and I'm purchased property in Emerald Crossing, would that be considered a pecuniary interest?
No, so the pecuniary interest would be if you stand to, say you owned a business that was bidding on installing the park. So you would stand
directly, okay. So indirectly it benefits me, but not necessarily directly. Sorry, just wanted to clarify.
It doesn't benefit you any more than any other resident in that area of Shelburne. Yeah, thank you for asking. That's a good clarification question.
Wonderful.
I just wanted to add, and I just wanted to clarify, I did look at the picture and I just wanted to make sure that the ramp going in was rated for wheelchair accessibility as well. And I was wondering if that was discussed or found out. Is that a consideration?
At which location? Sorry, I missed that.
At the beach location.
Wasaga Beach?
Hold on. The email that Len sent out.
Yeah, so that was for Wasaga Beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was my only item.
Yeah, the Wasaga Beach link that I sent out was just more of a public interest.
Okay.
What the provincial parks are doing. And like I said, I was at Killbear on the weekend and they had a number of those wheelchairs available to reserve, and they are all wheelchair and water accessible. So,
okay.
And Killbear's trail is fine crushed rolled gravel, but it's so well packed. There were people with power wheelchairs on it, no problem.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to know if that was a consideration, and it obviously is. So great, thank you.
The only other item I can add right is at this time, and I'm not sure if there are already plans for it, but within the dog park at Fiddle Park, more accessible seating near the entrance of the gated area of the park would be beneficial. Currently, fences, they're to work, you're walking an entire field length essentially to be able to sit down, which could pose a problem for anyone with any type of health challenges that would prevent them from doing so. But I haven't made my way through the plan to see if that's currently a part of it yet, but that would be the only feedback I have, which I can also share in one of the engagement sessions.
Yeah, and even if you are unable to attend an engagement session, you will have the opportunity to make your comments. So as you're going through, yeah, just make notes, make comments, and then you'll have the opportunity to submit them. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and Fiddle Park Plan? Nicholas, did you have a comment? Just raising your hand, stretching? Yeah, no worries. All right, moving on to the next agenda item then, that would be new business. Does anyone have anything to present at this time or to bring up? I will take everyone's silence as a no. All right, then with that, I would like to move to the next agenda item, which is adjourning the meeting. Do I have someone to move and to second that? I will take Walter to move and then Nicholas to second. And then Alice, would we have to vote in favor of adjourning? Yep. All right. Everyone, can we please vote in favor? That I think this is everyone essentially right now. All right. So with that, thank you, everyone. So we will now adjourn, and then we'll be reconvening in September. And then I believe that date then would be September 21st, if I'm correct.
Before we adjourn, can I just make a comment?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just want to make a comment before you adjourn.
Oh yes, yeah, no worries.
I just want to say to you, Ryan, what a wonderful job that you did tonight on your first meeting. You did a great job.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for your patience, and particularly thank you to Alice who helped me with this. This is still familiarizing myself with the structure and protocol.
You did an excellent job, Ryan, and you'll get really good at it after a while, so no worries.
Thank you. All right, so are there any concerns with meeting on September 21st with anyone here? I will take that as a no, and then it'll be then at the same time, starting at 6:30 on September 21st is when we will meet again. Alice, if anyone has to bring anything up, would it just be emailing on the email thread we have going currently?
Yeah, so they could do it on the email, preferably not on the email thread, preferably just to you and I, because as soon as you email the whole committee, it can be foreseen as moving the work of the committee forward outside of a meeting. So we try to avoid emailing whole committees unless it's particularly related to booking a meeting or sharing an agenda or information that was discussed at a meeting. So absolutely, please send it to Ryan and myself. And then if you're unable to attend in September, please email me and let me know. But if I don't hear from you, I will assume that you're coming.
Wonderful. All right. So with that, everyone have a great evening, and we will connect again on September 21st.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.